Guys, what's up? Welcome to my video. So this video is going to be about the H&M ad that there's apparently an uproar over because they use some black girl with nappy hair. So this is pretty much a counter my argument with, you know, these social justice warriors. No, these anti-social justice warriors, excuse me. These anti-social justice warriors, the white ones and the black ones, apparently. These days, there are quite a bit of anti-social justice warriors who are black and consider themselves conservative. You guys go after everybody. You guys go after, well, not everybody, all right? I'll get to the point about that. You guys go after you know, people who can't take jokes, apparently, who, you know, jokes are made about their race, their culture, etc. People who can't take scenes in a movie because, you know, they either don't like it or it doesn't represent them, or they don't want it to represent them, etc., etc. All right, you guys go after, you know, Asian Americans, LGBT community, especially the LGBT community, women's rights groups, you know, Indians, like that dude who complained about, you know, Apu and his accent on The Simpsons. Anybody who complains, you guys complain about. You guys have this whole, you know what, it's just a joke, it's just a movie, it's just this, it's just that. But when it comes to black people who complain, when it comes to Jews who complain and then just bring up that anti-Semite card, black people who bring that race card in situations like this where some girl was pictured with her natural nappy hair, and apparently the black community are uproar about that. That's just racist. Just natural is racist. Anything that's, you know, anything that's not, you know, within the boundaries of what black people consider an image of themselves to be perfect these days, as far as, you know, you take the 1% of your population, the 1% of your tallest, best looking women and men, and that's who you want to represent you. But the other 99% of you guys are fat. Like 50% of more than 50% of the American population is obese. All right, they're fat, they're balding. You know, they got pimples, they got, you know, they got no hair, and all that shit. A lot of that shit. You know, they're ugly, fugly, whatever. All right, and there's not a problem with people being average looking or fugly, but you don't want those people to represent you. You want the best of the best 1% to represent you, and then you go out and tell people how, you know what, we are perfect. But you guys who want the same thing, where you want the media to represent you as best as possible, fuck you. All right, that ain't cool. You guys complain too much, etc., etc. The hypocrisy of it. Same with the whites, you know, the Euro-Americans, same with the whites. All right, they, on average, put their best looking, tallest dudes up. You know, white dudes, white females, the best 1% they put up. All right, they don't put up, I mean, if you guys go by the realities, the reality of what people look like, at least 60% of the people represented in the media should be like obese, kind of stouty, balding, with freaking weird looking, just weird looking. All right, but you guys like that 1% of you representing you, but with other groups like Latino Americans, Asian Americans, etc., you guys just play up the stereotypes. I noticed over the last 20 years. You know, the media just loves to play up the stereotypes. That's all they do with those groups, gays, etc., etc. They don't take the 1% of their group to represent them. All right, they take, you know, the most stereotypically average, the fugly looking of their population to represent them, except if it's a woman, and you know, except if it's a woman of their race. In those circumstances, what they do is, they like playing up this. White knight or black knight syndrome, where they take the woman of these races. All right, whatever they're casting for, they'll take the 1% best looking, and then they'll pair them up with, good-looking white dudes or black dudes. That's what they do. But with the males, they'll go out of their way to get the ugliest, fuggliest, average-looking dude for them. All right? But I'm kind of digressing on my point a bit because, it's about this particular instance that every single week there's something like this. Like every single week when I'm reading it, there's something like this where black people go, that's an outrage. She's too light-skinned. She's too dark-skinned. Why do you have these images of Africans in the wild? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's not like, back in the days, what I mean, like pre-Obama, maybe back in the days, like, pre-2005 or whatever, where they depict you as you are. No, not as you are, but they try to be realistic about it, all right? There were, in the movies, TV shows, black drug dealers, there were black pimps, there were black hookers, there were black criminals, black thugs, black muggers, but these days, they don't do that anymore for black people, all right? Because there's, these days, they know where the boundaries are, so they'll, have black people be the model minority in that fake Hollywood media world where every single casting is some 1% of 1% of the best looking blacks, and then they get cast as lawyers, doctors, CEOs, judges, etc., the white collar blacks. I know they exist, but most of you guys are not white collar, but that's how you guys want to be represented. And with Latino roles and Asian American roles, they get the shittiest ass blue collar ass roles, ethnic blue collar ass roles in Hollywood. I work in the industry. I know how they do their racism, okay? They've kind of shifted all that racism from African Americans, from blacks, to Asian Americans, Latino Americans, women, LGBT, etc., Muslims, sometimes Arabs, Indians. They've shifted that racism quite a bit to these other groups. They shifted it. So what's the problem here? The problem is they know why they're outraged about that, because it represents them on a social level. It has a connection. It has real life consequences on the social level. People will judge you, see you, and they're going to make an opinion on you from what they see on TV, the movies, etc., advertisements, etc. The whole advertising world exists for this propaganda paradigm. All right. It's racial branding at this point. They don't want to be racially branded as ugly, fugly. They don't want reality. They don't want reality of who they are. So they got to get the best looking, tallest dudes and females to represent their people. But when it comes to everybody else, they do the whole anti-social justice warrior things, set up a channel, start complaining about everybody else who wants the same thing. And that's my point. All right. Why aren't these white dudes, white conservatives, going after, black people? Why isn't Donald Trump, making more of a priority to talk about black issues like black crime, black rapes, the fact that black people aren't doing too well in education, but he goes after the Latinos. As far as I can tell, he goes after the illegal immigrants and stuff like that. He goes and makes fun of everybody, but he won't do this shit on black people. He won't do this shit on Jews. Because he knows where the boundaries are. Okay, these anti-social justice warrior conservatives who complain about everybody, Asian Americans, Latino Americans, they're not seeing this, the way that they should see it, where, they're being more than unfair about the criticism of certain groups, versus other groups where they'll handle with care because there are consequences to going after them. It's beyond ridiculous, and I am glad that in 2019, a lot of these groups, the LGBTs, the Asian Americans, Latino Americans, women's rights groups, Indian groups, Asian groups, they got a voice now. All right, you guys can't do that. Two's a party, three's a crowd, where you guys get access to Hollywood, the media, and then you guys just start, pushing everybody out, or just racially bashing other groups while promoting your own agenda. That's not the way it should ever work. That's not the way that should ever work, because it makes it unfair for everybody. That's not the way it should work in a civilized society, because it makes it an uneven thing. It makes it uneven for everybody else and in the social realm. I mean, think about how how the promotion of that black culture has actually increased the amount of interracial relationships with black males and white females. I mean, I was around 20 years ago, and they couldn't get shit. These people couldn't get shit. I mean, just going after an ugly white chick would get you the worst look, the meanest look ever. All right, this didn't happen 20 years ago because you guys didn't have this racial promotion of your race. You guys didn't have this racial promotion of your race over the last 20 years. All right, that's why it matters to you guys. All right, you guys wouldn't have a president of the United States, wouldn't have Obama being elected, wouldn't have all these people in positions that they are in Hollywood and government, etc., if it weren't for all these civil rights organizations, if it weren't for the social justice warriors in these civil rights organizations, if you guys didn't bitch every single time there was, there was any kind of transgression that you guys thought made you guys look bad. And this is what it's about. All right. Like everybody says, it's just a joke, it's just a movie. Well, this is just a picture, so why are you going off on just a picture of a real life depiction of a black girl with her nappy hair? Because you guys don't want that message being sent out that you guys are fugly. You guys don't want that message being sent out that, nappy-headed, a nappy-headed hoe. You guys don't want that message. All right, you guys want that racial promotion where you guys get the best representation that you get. You guys want that Coca-Cola treatment of your race. So for all you guys listening who are either not black or white, you're LGBT, you're Latino Americans, Asian Americans, Muslim, women's rights groups, whatever you guys are, fight your fight. Don't have these people, these anti-social justice warriors, anti-civil rights of your group. Don't let them tell you anything. Don't let them tell you anything. Don't let them tell you shit about why you shouldn't be represented the best you could be represented. Why you guys shouldn't be complaining that you guys are represented unfairly. All right, you guys go and fight your fight. All right, fuck these guys, fuck these people. I've worked in the media industry for the last 20 years, and I've been trying to tell them that. And every time I've been trying to push this message out, whether it would be on certain shows or etc., these guys only listen. Okay, they don't listen. I mean, it's not that they don't listen, but they base their racism on the consequences that could exist with them. All right? They base it on the consequences. They don't base it on ethics. They don't base it on morals. They don't base it on, this is really racist. It's not racial. It's really racist. It's like negative racism. It's like we would be calling somebody, a chink or a fag or a spick in a joke, in a movie scene, in a movie scene, in a TV scene, etc., by the way we depict them. All right, but we don't care because we're not going to get flack from it the same way we would if we were depicting black people in that fashion. if we were depicting Jews in that fashion, all right? This is how that industry has worked for the last 20 years, all right? It's changed a little bit over the last 1 or 2 years, but it's 2019. This shouldn't be happening, all right? They should, if they're going to represent one group, one group with the utmost dignity and respect, and take that 1% of that one group to represent the whole, they should do it for everybody else. They should just respect everybody the same way, but they don't do it. They don't do it. They know where the boundaries are. They know where the parameters are. And I hope that, in the coming years, that karma actually plays a part with each and every one of these individuals that work in Hollywood, the media, etc., casting agents, producers, screenwriters, every single studio heads, every single one of them. I hope karma bites them in the ass the same way that the Me Too movement bit every one of these, these dudes in the ass who what that whole Me Too movement is about. So I don't need to explain it, but I hope there's a Me Too racial movement where people just speak out against the past transgressions on their group, on shows, on TV shows, on movies, with what they did to Shane Gillis, etc., because they need to do something about that. All right. I know there was like a couple months ago, there was a lot of people who complained about the Seinfeld show and how they depicted Latinos, how they depicted Asians, the negative ways that they depict Latinos, Asians, gays, etc. I've watched probably like every one of those shows, and I can tell you the way they depicted Asians, Asian Americans, Latinos, gays, they're pretty much in TV show form calling you guys chinks, spics, and fags, but they don't come out right and say it, but they'll do it in images, in film. They'll do it. All right, that's exactly what they're calling you when they depict you guys the way they depict you guys. It's just wrong. It's just entirely wrong. And that show did commit racist acts towards these certain groups, as well as the Family Guy. They do that. All right. I mean, these shows are pretty careful when they depict blacks. They're pretty careful when they depict Jews, but then they think it's safe to actually just be racist against every other group who's not those groups. Two Broke Girls comes to mind with that little Asian dude, right? That whole entire show, they were essentially calling Asian men chinks throughout the whole entire show. You might as well just read it that way, because that's the way, that's the way it comes off. That's just the way, that's reality. That's the way it comes off. They're calling you chink in TV form, in moving images. They don't come out. That's how they hide their racism. That's how they do their racism. All right. They don't need to just shout out. And the worst thing is, this goes towards every single freaking person who watches this, sees this. All right. And we're talking about like hundreds of thousands, millions of people, sometimes billions of people. They watch this stuff, and, it influences their opinion of you. Okay. If you're not depicted with dignity, a lot of times you're not going to be treated with dignity. And that's an unfortunate fact, that people are robots and they mimic what they see. It's an unfortunate fact that exists, but it is an absolute truth. And that is why these black people are always complaining, always criticizing, always always doing this thing where they are criticizing the media. Everything, every single negative thing they see, they'll have a word. They'll protest, or they'll go social justice warrior ape shit over. Is what I'm saying. All right. So if you guys you guys aren't going to police yourself, you know, I'm talking about like the blacks and the whites. If you're not going to police yourself on you know, the whole social justice warrior thing that exists in your groups, you probably shouldn't just, you shouldn't try to police other people on wanting the best for their groups, okay? It's just absolutely wrong on so many levels. You guys know this. You guys know this. You guys give me negative feedbacks. You know, I did like maybe like, I don't know how many videos I did since I started like a couple weeks ago, but I put up like 14 videos and most of it is just negative feedbacks. I don't know why you guys keep on doing that. Considering, I know why you guys keep on doing that. Because I'm telling the truth. You guys are doing it because I'm telling the truth. You guys don't want to listen to the truth. You guys don't want to hear the truth, you know, but too bad, right? Too fucking bad. All right? Too fucking bad. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't, I don't care about it. I don't care about the negative comments, etc., etc. I'm just trying to put out the truth out there. All right? Open your eyes, everybody. Open your eyes. You know what I'm talking about. Don't lie.